What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down when is NIO's earnings that's coming out very soon, and why on earth we could see some very similar trends to what we saw in the past during previous earnings reports. So I'm going to report the historical data, show you guys what happened during NIO's previous earnings. Did NIO's share price go up or down? What actually happened? What does the trend look like? So I'm going to break that down and talk about how this could affect us for the next couple of days, and why on earth the overall market will have effects on NIO as well. Before I break anything down about all this information, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. Not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is you could always sell these 12 free stocks for cash and use that cash to buy some NIO shares for free. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 8 days. Please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at the overall market, we had this giant red candle on SPY that essentially formed. We got a big push up, followed by a big rejection and a drop. And I am anticipating a lot of choppy price action from the market during this time frame. And that's the reason why I don't see NIO just straight up exploding tomorrow, going to like 25 a share in one day. But I do think NIO is going to push up a bit going into earnings, at least temporarily. I want to show you exactly why. So, according to many sources, NIO appears to be having their earnings on the 7th of September 2022. And unless this date actually gets adjusted by the time this video is uploaded, we'll have to really wait and see. But as of right now, this is the confirmed date. It does look like many credible sources are saying it's going to be on the 7th. So, what I'm essentially seeing is there were previous trends that NIO followed going into its earnings in the past. And let's actually look at how under this could affect us for the future. So right here, using tip ranks, which is actually used for many stock analysis and many getting information and stuff, we could see that based off previous trends, we have the previous earnings dates for NIO. So from November 2021, March 2022, June 2022, and so on and so forth. Now, we can't necessarily use this perfectly to really describe what's going to happen to NIO, because the past was very different, the contexts were very different in the market, the situations were different, but I do believe that there's a similar trend that tends to be followed, and I think it's very likely we may actually follow the trend. So let's actually go back to November 2021. All right over here. So I highlighted where the white vertical lines are. So right about here, this is when NIO had their earnings. And during that time, the market was obviously a lot better. NIO actually, a few weeks before, NIO was on already this uptrend, and it really started to push as we got closer to the specific date. You could see how NIO started to push to the upside as we came closer to earnings. Then what happened was earnings came out on November 8th. So if I actually show you guys the data, they beat on earnings per share. They did pretty well on that. They were almost profitable. I mean, I was very happy to see that happen, and yet the share price took a big hit after that, right? The share price tends to dump after earnings due to many different factors like manipulation. Maybe there are really high expectations for other investors that aren't always met, but NIO had a pretty decent earnings report during that time. Now, what happened in March? Let me actually pull up the March data. So March 23rd, 2022, NIO had their earnings again. This is for Q4 of 2021. And they actually, I think they kind of missed on earnings per share according to this specific forecast. And in my honest opinion, I mean, it was still a decent earnings per share. It wasn't necessarily bad, but they missed on that. And you can see what happened to NIO's share price after that. So going into March 23rd, which was actually like right here, about right here, NIO basically rallied. We had a big gap up for the week. NIO went from $13 a share, pushing all the way up to about 22. So huge move to the upside. And another thing is, it wasn't just earnings. The whole market was having that temporary rally. I'm sure you guys remember that when SPY rallied all the way up to 362. No, I'm sorry, not 362. It was the 400s. SPY had a big rally to about the 400s. But anyways, you guys understand my point. The SPY had a huge rally during this time. NIO was pushing up, and that really helps NIO push to the upside. But then during this time, as we approached earnings, NIO pushed even harder to the upside. And then after earnings, NIO gapped down really hard. NIO was in the like 22 range. It came all the way down to $19. So huge drop after earnings, followed by another big rip to the upside with the overall market, then a big drop as the whole market did actually crash after that. Now, NIO had another earnings that came out. All right, right over here in June 8th, 2022. NIO beat on earnings per share. They had a good Q1 for the year. They were looking very strong. And look at what ended up happening. NIO was on a downtrend near May. Nice reversal, started to push up like this, came down slowly, a little bit of chop here, then it pushed up going into earnings, which was June 8th. NIO pushed up very hard right after earnings. We dumped from $20 all the way down to 15. So NIO took another big hit a couple days after earnings. And that's what the trend is basically showing us. So now what's happening is NIO has earnings. Let me show you guys the date about right here. And NIO is already dropping before it because the whole market is just very choppy. So for that reason, I believe NIO is not just going to explode to like 22, 23, $25 in one day because the overall market is pretty choppy. It's very it's all over the place. It's affecting NIO, and you could see how the market does play a role in dictating NIO during these time frames. But I do anticipate what I think is going to happen is NIO should push up a bit, fill some of the gaps up here, maybe hit the 20 mark. It's very possible for NIO to rally going into earnings because earnings is on the 7th of September. We have one more day until then. It pushes up after earnings comes out. That's where it really depends on how we really react. We might see a slow reaction, a bit of a drop after that, and might start to actually come down from the rally after earnings. So we might see a move kind of like this, followed by a nice bounce. We could see price action kind of like this later on. But what I'm trying to say is going into earnings, I think it's very likely we push up. So I do think we're going to get a nice push to the upside. There's going to be lots of excitement, lots of traders coming in. And then after earnings, well, historically, even if NIO did very well during their earnings, we tend to drop after that. I just showed you the last three earnings, the same exact thing happened. So if we get that nice, like really nice push going into the day before earnings, which is September 6th, I think after September 7th starts, after earnings comes out, NIO is probably going to take a bit of a hit because that is what tends to happen. Now, it's not the end of the world. I did mention in my previous videos that the whole market is just very choppy, and we do see SPY actually have an effect on NIO as well. You can see how similar the trends tend to be. Look at the price pairs ratio. Once again, it went down a bit because NIO is not as volatile during these times as it usually was, but it is starting to become a little bit more, at least as of recent. So overall, I'm anticipating a pretty decent move for tomorrow. I think NIO might push to the upside in anticipation of earnings. There could be lots of excitement, lots of FOMO buying coming in. But then after earnings, I wouldn't be surprised if NIO does take a bit of a hit regardless of what their EPS is. And in my honest opinion, I'm not going to go into the full details of earnings today. I'm actually going to release a video tomorrow for that. But I want to talk about the fact that I'm not extremely optimistic about this. I'm not, by optimistic, I mean excited about this earnings report for NIO because this was one of those times where NIO had those lockdowns in China. They lasted 2 months. It may have affected their profits. It really slowed down a lot of their deliveries. So once again, I'm going to go over more specific data about earnings in terms of the numbers, the earnings per share, and so on and so forth for tomorrow's video. But today, I just wanted to make it very clear that I am anticipating NIO to push up a bit, get a nice push all the way up to that 18 to 19 range, maybe go as high as 20. We could actually touch 20. And NIO also has a gap somewhere here. Let me show you where the gap is. Right over here at $19.69 to 19.7 cents a share. So at $19.70 a share, I do think NIO might even fill the gap up there, get a big rally going into earnings. If we get that, I think it's very likely we take a bit of a hit after, in my honest opinion. So we'll have to just wait and see how it goes, remain calm, cool, and collected, and be ready for anything. Because remember, NIO, I mean, I think normally during earnings, NIO would push up a lot more. But if you look at SPY, it still looks kind of bearish. We're almost getting that 1348 EMA cross on the daily, not looking the best. As far as NIO goes, the level I'll watch for is if if I'm wrong and NIO does end up coming down, let me actually use this time frame for you. If NIO does come down, hypothetically, watch for 17.4, 17, and then 16.5. Those are key support zones. If it pushes up, I'm looking at $18 as resistance, 18.5, 18.75, 19, then 19.3, all as resistance levels. And a key zone would be that gap fill area, which would actually help us approach that $20 range all the way up here to about, what was it, like 19.7 or so. So I do think NIO might actually push up to almost 20 for tomorrow. It's very possible. But if that's the case, I wouldn't be super bullish for the day after. I'd be really ready for anything. With that said, guys, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. Please do what you have to do. Remain calm, cool, and collected. And I will most definitely see you guys in the next video. Get ready for earnings. It's coming very soon. NIO to the moon because the long-term future is still bright. And peace out.